Hello, thank you for joining Everyday Life in Finance with Robbie. I'm Robbie, and today I want to talk to you a bit about creating your own dream home or whether you should buy a new house. You have two options. What do you do? So, as a teenager and a college student, I always dreamed of having this, mega mansion, with everything you could imagine. I thought, coming out of college and law school, that this is, what I would have, what I want, to have. And, I had it all designed, all planned out, and so forth. And then, I moved into some upscale apartments and, great apartments, great areas, loved it, had a great, great experiences there. And then I moved on to purchasing a home. It wasn't my forever home, but I did build it from the ground up. And, I said, okay, this is perfect for now. It's a great starter home, but it's in a great neighborhood. I can grow into this. And then in a few years, I'll sell. Well, fast forward, I am still here. And it's still a great neighborhood, still, a great home. But I feel like maybe I missed out on something, and maybe you can understand that. Sometimes you're thinking you want something bigger and better. But then I had to really start thinking, and I said, do I really need something bigger and grander? And it's just me. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just buy something that's bigger, but not so bigger. And, right now, I should say, my home is like 2,500 square feet, 2,700 square feet. That's perfect for one person, and that's even, some might consider that a little big for one person. But, I'm still wondering, should I still reach for this dream? So, I thought I'd talk to you all about that today because there are options. So, I'm looking at whether I should buy a new home or whether it's a good idea to just create my own dream home here, because the home has great structure and so forth. Should I just create that here? So I want to talk to you about that because you don't always have to move to a bigger, better home. You can renovate, you can gut your house and create what you're moving into without increasing your mortgage or increasing your monthly budget significantly, depending on how, whether you have to finance the renovation or what, but you can do other things. So, I don't want you to miss out and thinking that, we all need these grand homes. I know, I watch some of the shows, The Housewives, and they have these huge homes and so forth. And then I had to really just start to start to think about it and say, do I really need all of that? Can I just beautify what I have here and just make it, as glam as I want and create my own dream home? Or do I spend additional money and go out and buy some additional home, add on expenses when I could be doing other things with that extra money? I could be traveling, having a great life. And, so you have to make that decision. Now, if you're facing that decision, there's some things that you want to consider. So I have to go in and talk a bit about finance. So finance is involved in everything that you do in life. You have to focus on the financial aspect of it and make certain that it makes sense. So there are a few things that you should consider when deciding, whether you should renovate your current home. So the first thing is you want to look at your neighborhood. Is it still a good neighborhood? Is it improving? Do you see signs that it's going to get stronger? Is it economically stable? You want to make certain that before you invest any money in renovating and making this dream house in your existing home, that you're in a good, desirable neighborhood. You want to be able to, if you want to sell later on, that you'll be able to get your money back. So the next thing is looking at your budget. So the money that you're putting in for renovations that you have, or you have reserved to buy a home, could you just put that into your existing home and get everything that you want and still end up with maybe, a slight increase in your monthly payment, depending upon, again, whether you're financing it with, whether you have cash for it or whether you're going to take out a home equity loan or so forth. So without increasing your expenses tremendously, So let's say you're in a home that costs 600,000 or 700,000, and to get what you want, you would have to spend 1.8 million. So that would be a substantial increase in your mortgage payments. Or could you just take 200,000 that maybe 100 to 200,000 that you have reserved for down payment, and put that towards renovating your existing home and making it what you want, doing it in steps if you have to, but taking that and doing a significant portion, mainly, I say focus on, the first thing I would focus on is what you see when you come in, your kitchen, your living room, your living areas, and focus on those, your bathrooms, make certain that you focus on those. So that's the second thing that I would look at, is whether you can use that money to beautify and improve the home that you currently have. The third thing that I want you to look at is whether it's worthwhile to put a significant amount of money into your home, whether, because you don't ever want to be the best house on the block. You want to make certain that it's reasonable. You don't want to be $1 million home in a neighborhood where all the other homes are selling for $200,000 to $300,000. You don't want to be that house, because then no one's ever going to pay $1 million for your home if you decide later on down the line to sell. So you may not be getting a good investment. So if you have a house and it's worth, 500,000, and you want to add 200,000 to it to renovate, but the other homes in your area are not selling, for that additional 200,000, so it would be 700,000. You may want to scale back on the types of renovations that you do, and not saying don't renovate, but maybe you scale back and don't go as grand as you may have. So you want to take a look, So you want to take a look at all of that to make certain that it makes sense to renovate. But if it does, do so, because you can make your own dream house without having to go and spend double the cost of your house and have increased monthly expenses. So keep that in mind. I'm hoping, my dream is that I can have Egypt Sherrod and Mike Jackson of Married to Real Estate, that I can have them design my home, even if they can't renovate it because we're in different areas of the country. Maybe they can design it or something like that. That's my dream, my next dream. So thank you so much for joining Everyday Life in Finance with Robbie. And hopefully you'll come back for other episodes and take a look at, my other previous episode, and please come back for more. Thanks again.